There's no getting around it. Sailing can be a risky business. You could break your bones on a winch under load. A simple mistimed step could dislocate your knee. And of course, there's the constant concern that a rogue wave can knock you overboard. In our journey around the world, we've been lucky enough to survive so far without too much trauma. Indeed, the worst we've faced is the odd cut, some good bruises, and 1 or 2 fishing trophies. But it looks as though our luck has run out. Having sailed for 5 days away from civilization, we might just have to turn around and go all the way back.
It is 6 a.m. I don't think either of us have ever been awake this early before. We are heading straight to the pass to get out of here. Not our plan, don't want to do it, but I'll tell you after we've made it because I need to concentrate for a second. So as we're coming out, it seems so much narrower than when we came in the other day. I mean, surely it isn't, but we've got like this sandbar on one side and we have to just guess how deep it gets. Getting our angle right is a bit hit and miss.
As the waves picked up, we had to head further into the centre of the channel to make sure we stayed deep enough. But things quickly got pretty ugly. The standing waves caught our bows and turned the boat side on to the smashing waves, and it was all we could do to hold on and try and stay on course.
Well, I don't know if I said I think we might have timed it just perfectly, but if I did, I take that back.
It was quite perfect. I think the problem we have, from the looks of it, is it is low tide, so the current is rushing out the lagoon at 2 knots, maybe 1.5. However, I think there's actually quite a strong current coming this way, so all of a sudden we've gone from going 4 knots to going 1.
Yeah, that makes sense, actually. We're just battling the current of the ocean, nothing to do with the pass now.
So essentially we were going at a nice speed and then we hit that stalling current and basically going up on our side and then just rode out a wave quite dramatically.
Yeah, everything is literally soaking.
I think that's the biggest sort of soak, maybe not the biggest soak we've ever had in the cockpit.
It was pretty high up there.
It was a pretty significant wave.
We both saw the wave coming and went, uh-oh, and both kind of ducked under the hardtop. And I suppose that did save us, but it also came in the front. And then we'd taken the rain curtain off the side, so it just came in the side. Camera got soaked. We're kind of dripping, but not too soggy, maybe. And now everything is just covered. And I've just spotted I didn't close one of the hatches.
Well, after thinking we were free of all the crazy waves, apparently not. It's going to be really hard to show this on camera, but we've had maybe, 4 big waves crash in over us. And it's been quite a challenge. Let's just put it that way.
It's absolutely wild. We thought this was going to be a nice downwind run. And these waves are just absolutely insane. It's like we're hitting standing waves, but we're so far away from the atoll. I'm trying to keep us as close into the waves as possible so that the bows slice them. But that means we have to get closer and closer to wind. So I have got the engines in idle for a second because we got a set of 3 that absolutely slammed us on our side a second ago. It was quite scary. They're definitely a bit jittery.
I think the line of the breakers is not that much further ahead of us. All the heavy stuff is behind us, I think.
I feel like this is just us approaching the end of it now, but I don't know how deceptive that is when you look forward and you're like, it's just 3 waves away.
Well, when you look forward, it always looks more scary than when you look back.
Oh, I should be sitting all this backwards.
Yeah, sit backwards, because whenever you look back, it always looks like, fairly tame, not that big a deal, right? However, when you look forward, you see all the cresting parts of the waves and just how big they actually are. And there's been some pretty big ones.
So we've just turned the boat boat so that we're heading slightly downwind now. The wind is maybe like 120 degrees kind of from just behind us. And I have to say, life is infinitely more comfortable now. Everything is just calmer and slower and more gentle. The waves are exactly the same and the wind is the same, but everything, it just feels different. You've got like the gentle noise of the wake behind us rather than the slamming and the constant crashing of waves over the top of us. So now we're calming down a little bit. I can actually face the rest of this passage and it should be quite enjoyable. I realise we haven't actually told you what is going on and why we had to leave in such a hurry. But I'll let Iain explain. It's early morning. Why did you make me do that? I didn't want to go through the pass.
Nor did I really. So we just sailed all the way from Tahiti to this remote atoll to explore and enjoy it.
It's been so lovely. We were enjoying it. So looking forward to life out here.
And then the other night I was flossing my teeth before bed and my tooth just cracked open. So we need to find a dentist fairly urgently, I think.
Yeah.
Now, the problem is, of course, we'd come all the way here in the plan to go further south because south of here is Whakarava, diver's paradise, everything's beautiful. But instead, we've heard rumor that the only dentist around is up in Rangiroa, which is 5 atolls north of here, which is kind of, we weren't planning to go north for a while. So it's a long trek north to kind of skip over places we wanted to stop,
Yeah.
which is a shame.
Yeah, so the atoll we were in was basically uninhabited. And as far as we know, Rangiroa is the only atoll that has a dentist or might have a dentist. So we figured we may as well give it a go. It should be a 24-hour sail. Yeah, so that's kind of what we're stuck with. Alternatively, we'd be sailing all the way back to Tahiti, which is like a 3 or 4 day sail, and just where we've come from. So this is our best option, and it's just the price you have to pay for getting to live in the middle of nowhere, I guess.
We're generally pretty good when it comes to medical stuff. So far, so good. We haven't had any major medical emergencies in 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this
Are they going to come in threes now? Or are we about to have a really bad week?
Just make sure you don't fall overboard or trip over anything, okay?
All right.
And no using knives for the next week. Just keep things simple. We don't need any more emergencies. Only eat soup, soft food and nothing else.
Cold soup as well.
Cold
no
soup,
burns.
can't burn, exactly.
I should also point out that when I say everything has slowed down, yes, India has slowed down as well, but we've gone from 7.5 knots to 6 knots. So, yeah, I think we can put up with a day like today. Well, that is the end of a very uneventful day, just the way we like it. Yeah, we've just been whittling along in between all these atolls. We're just passing Apitaki on that side, and I can't remember the name of this one. We can just see the trees along the horizon there. The wind is starting to die out, so our sails are getting a little bit flappy, but the current is helping us.
We had a couple of squalls overnight, so nothing really happened. We pretty much just lay around the cockpit and let the boat do its thing. But this morning has been kind of fun because now we can see where the squalls are coming from, and hopefully, if we're lucky, we can outrun this little squall here because essentially the full width of the horizon here is rain, except for that blue bit. So I'm going to aim for the blue bit. Hopefully, we will avoid getting wet, and then we can reset our course and zip along the side of Rangiroa, the atoll we're looking to stop in, and then just see if we get there in time for the pass. Because like our exit, we have to time it right to get to the pass to be able to enter probably as it's going from low to high tide, I reckon. So we'll get pushed into the pass is what we're hoping. But that's subject to us getting there in time. It's been pretty slow so far. So fingers crossed we can keep up whatever pace we have.
So we've dropped the mainsail, we're just motor sailing dead downwind now. We are almost there, and Iain said, oh, come and see this. I need to show you. Did you solve the mystery?
This is where your anxiety goes through the roof.
Well, it is when you walk out onto the foredeck holding tools.
Yeah, so earlier on, well, when we left the pass pretty much, so 24 hours ago,
Yeah.
we found this little nylock nut
It's like the most terrifying thing to happen at sea because it looks so innocent. And you're like, well, where has that come from?
Yeah, it was lying on the trampoline of all places. So it could have just gone straight in the sea and we wouldn't have known about it.
Oh my goodness.
But instead it was sat on the trampoline and was like, where was that? And we were looking around at everything we could think of. And I've just found out what it was.
Oh dear.
Head out that way, you'll see. When I dropped the sail, this bolt here was actually sticking out the top.
Oh my goodness. Do you know what? When the sail was up, I looked at the bottom of the bottom car and I thought that looks about the size of a nut, but I couldn't see any missing. But of course I couldn't because that was at the top of the mast.
So this is the car that holds the head of the sail to the mast. So
that could have been really fun.
Yeah, had it come loose, that would have been a bit of a pain. Really more of a pain to get it back.
Imagine if like the top of the sail was just flying around and then this next car, which is like 2 meters below it. Actually, no, the top one is a bit closer.
Is it?
Yeah. Yeah, I was looking at the distances to see if we'd lost any already.
Oh, missed.
Good job we dropped the mainsail then, hey?
Well, we only reached it like 5 times on this passage and didn't notice.
All right, half an hour to go to the pass. Are we going to time it right?
I mean, it looks like it. We have been crawling to try and land this bang on what you reckon is 0 current in or out of the pass. So we've been going at 2.2 knots for an hour.
I think this is perfect. We're just like dancing along on the waves, drifting our way, and we're going to land bang on. It's going to be great.
Sure. Yeah, I think, 125.
Oh, we're going to be 1 minute too early.
1 minute too early. So
slow down, please.
I'll slow us down. Actually, that wave probably did it.
So this pass gets a really bad rap for having incredibly strong currents that rip through. So we really, really want to time it right. Everything we've said that we've read said that going through at low tide is not a good idea. But we missed high tide at 6 a.m. this morning and we can't wait till tonight because it's like 8 o'clock this evening, so it'll be dark. So we're having to go in at low tide and we're just crossing our fingers that it'll be slightly smoother than yesterday's departure from Toau. I'm just telling myself that the wind is like 10 knots less and the waves are a lot calmer. So sure, it'll be fine. So from further away, it did look slightly terrifying with like a lot of white caps and breaking waves. But as we're getting closer, I think I can see a pathway in the middle. So maybe we have actually timed this right. Does look quite narrow though. So we don't have the standing waves we were expecting, but it is so swirly. So the current is clearly, maybe we haven't quite got it timed and the current is just changing from going out to going in. But yeah, it's like boiling water here. It's just all bubbling away.
It's kind of like balancing on those wooden boards with the PVC pipes and you stand on it and try and balance a balance board?
Yeah, I fell off one of them once.
Feels a bit like that. You're always going back and forth because the boat wants to go one way and the rudders want to go a different way. So they kind of
keep spinning us around
in a really weird way.
Oh my goodness, we've got jumping dolphins right on our bow. Hello! Oh my goodness, it's huge. Woo! What a welcome. And just like that, we're anchored. We did intend to film coming in, but a big squall came over and we got soggy.
Absolutely. So I was at the helm and I'm wrinkly. How does that happen?
It wasn't even like heavy rain. It was just like very wet rain. And now
very wet rain.
Drippy and soggy and I want a hot chocolate.
Hot chocolate.
But we made it. We're here. We're safe.
And now we just have to find a dentist.
And this is Rangiroa. It is weirdly more built up than we're used to seeing in the Tuamotu. It's like...
well, hang on.
There's a proper road that we're walking on.
There is a proper road, but it is the only road. So this one goes from one end of the atoll all the way past... Well, it does have an airport.
It does, yeah. And
all the way past the airport.
Yeah, there's a couple of dive shops, a couple of different stores and restaurants. So, we've seen people.
There's human beings. That is true.
That's more than we've seen in a lot of these atolls.
And to be fair, cruise ships do come here. So it is clearly a tourist draw of some sort.
So fingers crossed we can find some kind of medical centre that has a dentist. We've only been walking a few minutes and we've already reached the outside of the lagoon and we've come all the way out to the pass. I think it looks a little bit wilder today.
Yeah, so that's the fun version, because this is what we'll eventually have to do. This is leaving. And I'm not quite sure he's picked the right weather window, or window in the current and the tides, because I'm pretty sure this isn't the slackest point.
Well, I take it back. Rangiroa is not as built up as I thought it was. There's a road and there's some trees and there's not much else.
There's a road, trees, and ocean. Lots of ocean.
We saw a shop, but it was closed, and we saw a restaurant.
So 2 restaurants. Well, one, yeah, okay, well, one restaurant and a kind of lean shack. But what we did find out, we spoke to somebody here, and it turns out that the dentist who does exist is actually away on training for 2 weeks. So currently there is no dentist on the island.
Yes. So we've come all this way for nothing.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can now choose to wait 2 weeks or literally sail back to Tahiti, because there are no other dentists in the whole of the Tuamotus. She's the only
She's
one.
the one, yeah.
She sometimes goes to other atolls, but right now, yeah, she's I don't even know where she is.
Tahiti.
She's nowhere to be seen. She probably is.
So yeah, so basically we have to go back to the boat, regroup, and come up with a plan. Last night we spent pretty much the whole night looking for options. We scanned all over the web. We asked all sorts of people we knew around, both here on boats and people over in Tahiti, to see what options we had. And then we bought me a flight, and it's time to go.
That was quite an exciting dinghy ride. It was getting so rolly as we came in. We had to sort of like tuck in behind the wall.
I think you channeled your Cornish. You were surfing.
It was basically, yeah, surfing in and dodging the bommies. Getting back on my own is going to be fun.
I'm glad I'm not in the dinghy. It's going to be quite wet.
This is really weird because like we haven't been off the boat for extended periods of time very much, but you've never been off the boat without me.
Yeah, you're soloing for the next couple of days, which is weird.
Yeah.
Like, I'm feeling quite uncomfortable about it, I'll be honest.
Well, yeah, also, we're in quite a deep anchorage. We've got enough chain out, but there is like a bommy nearby and there's some high winds coming through. So I'm going to be a little bit on high alert to make sure that we're fine. But
It's not that I'm worried about it. When we lived back on land, I would go away on work trips and I'd come back and Brioni would be like, oh, I just tiled the entire kitchen or something crazy. So please don't do any major renovations. You can repair stuff, but don't do don't install a new bathroom.
I'm just going to like sew everything.
Oh no.
And bake.
Okay, so now that I've touched down in Tahiti, basically I have to walk a couple of miles to get to the Airbnb we found. It's like a little dorm house place. I'm really not sure what to expect. I let Brioni book it, probably a really bad idea. But anyway, walk a couple of miles, find that, stop in for the night, and then hopefully, all going well, I can make my way into Papeete again and meet up with the dentist, get this whole thing sorted out. You might remember this background. This is the marina we'd often drop the dinghy off at. But I just have to laugh. Look at this for a cruise ship. I mean, I guess they built it before Starlink. That's 4 huge satellite dishes and they're all gimbaling satellite dishes. So not necessarily your standard dental practice entrance, but this is it. We finally found the dentist at the back of the market.
Well, the wind has turned to come more from the southeast, and we're basically not protected at all in this anchorage, so it is quite rolly. But I'm going to see if I can actually get on and be vaguely somewhat productive while he is away. So the other day I started a sewing project making covers for the fuel cans that sit up on our deck, and I'm going to see if I can at least get one more made today without falling over or sewing my hands together or something. I'm just using this Dacron. This is from an old mainsail that a friend of ours had and it ripped. And it's so great because I know it doesn't have great UV properties, like our mainsail is kept inside a canvas bag for that exact reason, but it is free and it's what I have on board. So it'll do the job. It will offer some protection to our fuel cans. It's what I've used for all of our line bags around the boat, and some of them have been on the boat now for 2 or 3 years, and they're still holding together in one piece. So I will probably need to remake them at some point in the future, but I can regret this decision later.
Meanwhile, 200 miles away in Tahiti, Iain had some good news.
Just like that, all sorted. No crack, no damage. Cost us 50 quid. It's not bad.
We've had a couple of squalls come through, so I'm just kind of keeping an eye on the bommies around about us. There's one just behind us here, so when the wind swings, we get a little bit close to it, but I think we'll be okay. We're seeing winds of like 25, 30 knots, and our anchor is holding really strong. So I'm sure we'll be fine for one more day till Iain gets back. But I'm quite pleased with my solution to the dinghy, though. So it just turns out that we're like halfway through switching over the electric dinghy winch that we installed in the wing. So I need to lift the dinghy manually, which in this swell on my own is absolutely impossible. So I'm having to leave it in the water. But with the swell that is coming through, it was like really pulling on this line. And I was nervous that we were going to damage the davits just with the jerking movement of the dinghy. And so I've tied like our heavy chain from the front of the dinghy. It sort of loops down, and I've just tied it onto this bridle here. And it's actually working really well. So it means that the wind or the waves can blow the dinghy back off the boat. But because of the weight of the chain, it just slows the movement down and it's not jerking as much. And then it pulls it back in a little bit. So it sits just quite nicely off the back of the boat and is not causing too much trouble. Anyway, I nearly finished this cover and I'm going to see if I can get it done before it starts raining again. Using Dacron is great because it's like really structural, so it'll hold its shape well around the cans and hopefully look a little bit neater than if I use something softer, but it is quite tricky to turn inside out when you're finished. And this is the test to see if it actually fits. So it just slides on over the top like that, and then there's a little Velcro handle flap on there so that I can actually carry it. I am quite happy with that. It's not a perfect fit, but it's definitely better than nothing. I've still got 2 to make, but that can wait for another day. So now I have to go find Iain at the airport and we can carry on adventuring again. Back to plan A!